When you're part of a family, it's awful when you feel that members of your family don't care about you, that they prefer people outside, or they have favorites, or they just don't seem to want to show you that you matter. And sometimes it can be so painful that it drives you to do things or say things just to get proof. And I'm going to tell you a little story about a family that I used to work with and show you what happened to them and how awful it was. And then I'm going to tell you how I helped them. So let's look at this family. We have a married couple. Let's call them Mary and Joe. And Mary has a mother, Alicia, and she has a sister. Joe has parents that he doesn't see very often because he's moved away when he got married to Mary. So Mary and Joe live together. They've been together about, a year or so. And they got married. They enjoyed their wedding. Everybody was happy. Joe was taken in by Mary's mother, Alicia. He felt part of his new family because he'd lost his old one. Everything seemed to be going all right. And then gradually, Mary began to feel like Joe didn't care about her. He was working all the time. He didn't pay enough attention to her. He was more worried about pleasing her mother and her sister than pleasing her. And Alicia felt like Mary and Joe didn't want to know about her unless she was solving a problem or giving them money or taking them out. And what about Joe? He felt like he had to take care of everybody else. He had to take care of his mother-in-law's feelings, his sister's feelings. How about his wife? Nothing he did was good enough. So this is kind of the way they came to see me. And what we discovered was that Mary had a very powerful way of trying to feel like she was loved and she got proof. She would get sick very often. She'd have back pain or headaches or colds and coughs and flu and worry everybody because she tended to have serious episodes of flu which were, worrying to everybody. So when she felt that her mother wasn't paying enough attention to her, that her mother was more interested now in the younger sister because they were living together, or in her job, Joe wasn't paying any attention to her because he was involved in his new job trying to make money and pay the bills, she would get sick. And everybody would come scurrying around trying to take care of her, but it was never enough because what she wanted was proof that they would forego all the other things and put her in the place of priority. So Alicia would get very angry because she thought her kid was not being a grown-up and wanting her to make choices that were impossible. She had to work. She had to take care of other things. She couldn't just take care of her now grown daughter who had a husband. The husband, Joe, felt like he was doing everything he could. Took care of her needs, took her to the doctor, got medication, made her food, but he also had to do his work, and he got very angry when his wife, Mary, didn't kind of see that it was enough. So when they came to see me for therapy, each one was trying to get the other one to prove something. They would make demands. Well, I want you to drop everything. I want you to check in with me every 5 minutes. I want you to sit by me and ask how I am. I want you to call me. The mother, Alicia, would say, I want you to call me. See what my day is like. Don't just come and dump all your problems on me or ask me to bail you out financially and so on. So everybody had a very, very big sore wound, and none of them could speak to each other in ways that felt inviting. Whenever one person made a demand, if Alicia made a demand on her daughter Mary that she should be more considerate, that she should take what she gets and not be selfish, then Mary would feel like her mother didn't care about her even more. And if Alicia wanted Joe to check in on her and see how she was doing, Joe felt he had another job to do. And if what he did for Mary wasn't good enough, he would feel like an inadequate husband. So here's what I helped them to do. I asked them to check in and see how they were feeling in that moment when they felt uncared for. So with Alicia, for example, I said, what do you feel like when Joe doesn't call you or Mary doesn't check in with you? She said, I feel lonely. I feel like I don't exist for them, that they only want me to bail them out, that they don't really care about me, the human being. So I asked Mary, what's it like for you when they don't come and sit by your bedside, when they don't call you, when they don't check in, when they're busy doing everything else and not attending to you? Here's what she said. I feel like I don't exist. I feel lonely. I'm scared that they don't want me anymore. I don't know if I matter to them. So then I asked Joe, what do you feel like when you do so much work for your wife, you try to take care of your mother-in-law, your sister-in-law, your wife, and they all complain that it's not enough, it's not the right way? He said, I get angry. I feel like I'm not good enough, that nothing I do matters. They don't see me as a human being. I don't matter to them. They only want me to fix their issues. So as you can see, all three of them were feeling the same. Lonely, that they didn't matter, and that they didn't exist for their family members. So here's what I told them to do, to say exactly those things to each other and invite a response. They had these feelings in common, but they never shared them because they were always demanding proof. They were always complaining to each other. They were always being in a place of feeling what they didn't get rather than tuning into what they really feel and want. And when they all discovered that they were all feeling the same thing, that they all wanted the same thing, to be cared for, to be remembered, to be thought of, to matter, then they started to understand one another and feel more connected and closer. They started spontaneously to check in with each other, to remember each other, send a little text here, make a little call there, just checking in. They didn't have to be grand gestures or big, important actions or deeds. These little tiny things helped create a kind of whirlpool where everybody felt that they were still part of the same experience. They were all connected. They weren't switched off or switched on. And that really helped the family to feel like they all mattered to one another, that they all cared about each other, and that they were all important to one another. It was just they weren't tuning into their feelings. They were tuning into their upset and making demands and wanting proof. And in that place, nobody felt good enough. Nobody felt that what they did was appreciated, and nobody felt that they could ever please each other. So if you do it the way I said, your family too can enjoy connection. You and your family members can feel that you matter, that you're important, that you are really connected and loving and important to one another. And now I'm going to ask you to do something for me. Please leave some comments when you finish watching the video about how this sounded. Did this family sound anything like your experience? Did it ring any bells for you? And what have you tried? What works for you? What doesn't work for you? And then tell me what you thought of my ideas on the video. Tell me if it worked for you.